Hi, everybody. This is David Valenzuela, founder of Wish Skin Health, on the next episode of I Wish Podcast. I am beyond excited today to have our next guest come on. She actually doesn't need an introduction, but I feel the need to introduce her because she's been a very pivotal part of the brand story of Wish, and will be forever, of course, grateful. More macro moisture on its way. But Maxine Drake is going to be our guest today. And Maxine, we have a lot of industry history and we've got a lot of amazing topics to cover today. And I'm so excited, Maxine. Thank you for being with us today.
Oh my gosh, David, I'm so excited that you're doing this podcast and this platform to help our industry professionals gain insights and education and inspiration to keep their day going, because it is hard out there being an entrepreneur today.
It is a minute, and I can't wait to ask you all the great things and all the insight that you offer the industry, because you are a powerhouse and you've done a lot of things. The first questions that I want to ask you is, everyone is very interested in how people came to be where they are today. And that, of course, involves a story. And we have some interweaving history, but tell the audience, the listeners, how you actually got into aesthetics. What was the impetus to get into the aesthetic field?
Do you want me to be honest? I don't even know if
Yes.
I shared this story with you. Like, at all of our stories, I don't know if I actually shared this with you. So I started off in the 80s as a massage therapist. So I was a massage therapist first. Okay. And so my love for aesthetics didn't just evolve into, hey, I love skin and I want to be an esthetician. My body was hurting as a massage therapist. The average lifespan for a massage therapist is 5 years. I was kind of about around that time. And I saw my aesthetic friends have the ability to make more money because they could sell products.
Yes.
And so I was initially inspired by how much money I could make. It doesn't sound glamorous now, does it? So that is the truth, though. I was literally inspired by that. And so I was like, well, wait a minute.
Were you in an environment? Was it a full service situation where you actually got to see firsthand in the same business what estheticians were doing?
Well, let me just back up a little bit. I was a flight attendant and I was transitioning. So when 9/11 happened, I was transitioning out of being a flight attendant and knew that I wanted to go back to school for something. And so I was a spa manager of this very large, bustling spa. And that's one of the reasons that also helped me fall in love with the aesthetic side. Is I was watching the estheticians and watching their tickets. I know, and watching how much they could make. And I'm like, wait a minute, so I was managing the spa and I went back to school for aesthetics. Now, of course, I fell in love with the industry. Once you start putting your hands on clients, you fall in love with your clients and you fall in love with the whole process. And so that is the truth of it, of how I kind of fell into aesthetics.
You know what? I love the story. So we don't need to be forever afraid to talk about money or income or motivation or why we fell into something or how it came to be. You actually made it so differently than we've interviewed 4 people now, and this is going to be a really amazing December Christmas podcast release. I'm excited about it. But the varying paths to get people into aesthetics have been all over I love people actually witnessing firsthand what your opportunity is financially in the industry. We don't talk about it enough, what the opportunities are. And that's one of the reasons why this exists, because here we get to highlight that stuff. So, all right. So you did massage for 5 years and you're like, okay, my body's hurting. Another thing we don't teach in the industry is ergonomics and how to really take care of your body as a service provider, which is why the lifespan would be so short for a massage therapist. So when you made the decision, you're going to transition, you're going to go to aesthetic school, Talk to me about that. So you've made the decision. I'm gonna go get my aesthetics license. Take us from there.
Oh my god. So here okay, so what's funny is I saw the opportunity of how much money could be made, right? So hang on to that thought because it's like pretty funny what I did the first 2 years. So, yes, I went to aesthetic school. Once I graduated, I applied right away. I applied and I actually worked for a department store. I worked for Dillard's. And
Love
I
this.
was there for 2 years. What's interesting about that whole scenario is I was only given Sunday, Monday, Tuesdays to work. So, given the Sunday, Monday, Tuesdays to work, which are typically not like the best days in the spa industry to
Hmm.
work, I
Yep.
became number 7 in the nation within a year with my service sales because
Wow.
I worked it. So how I built was I thought outside of the box. There was a senior esthetician there who I thought, oh my gosh, she's got 5 years under my belt. She can be my mentor. Yeah, no. She was not my mentor. She wanted nothing to do with me. I was just intimidating to her because I was coming out of it like gangbusters, like very excited to build my clientele. And I was very focused on building my clientele. So I worked it in a manner. I said to my manager, can I go down to, no, we're in Dillard's department store, right? So the cosmetic counters are on the first level in this particular store. And I said, can I give away a free brow wax to get people into my treatment on my treatment table? And my manager was really cool. We're still really good friends today. And she said, yeah, absolutely. So I would go down the escalator to these cosmetic counters, and I built so many great relationships with the girls at Clarins and Estee Lauder and Clinique and all of that. And I just said, as I'm working the floor, can I invite sometimes your customers up for a brow wax? There was no conflict with that, right? And
Hmm.
so here I am, cold. It's not even cold calling. You are cold approaching just strangers to
Hmm.
say hi. And there were times where I would like go to walk up to a person and be like, and I would just turn around and walk the other way. And it was just I had to develop this courage to, and I was just on such a mission to build my book that I had to just bust through that fear of approaching a cold person basically and saying, hey, hi, my name is Maxine. I'm an esthetician. Would you like a free brow wax? Do you have time? And they're like, sure. Like looking for the stool. Like, where do I sit at the Clinique counter or the Estee Lauder? I'm like, oh, actually, no, we're upstairs in the spa. And they're like, oh, I didn't know there was a spa upstairs. Half my problem. So
Hmm.
here up the
Yep.
escalator we go, around junior clothes, and into the spa we go. So one of the first things I had them do is fill out an intake form, no matter what. Any free thing that I did, they filled out an intake form, and I would give the free brow wax. Sometimes I would get a tip, sometimes I wouldn't. But at the end of that day, I would collect all of those forms and I would write thank you cards to every single one of them to say, thank you so much for trusting me with your brows. My days are Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We talked about this, this, and this with your skin, and I'd love to see you for a facial. And I just had my head down with that. If there was a gap in my day, I didn't boo-hoo about it. I went down and I worked the floor. Like that is what I did.
You know
So I
what? So
built up a 300 clientele base in 9 months.
I mean, phenomenal. So one of the last webinar that we did, the last podcast that we recorded, we were having this very conversation about the need to network and get out of your comfort zone. And one of the things that's not easily taught in this industry is that awkward, uncomfortable feeling of going and introducing yourself to a potential client. Whether they're at the department store, if you're in a full service salon, they're getting their hair done, they're getting their hair colored. There's not really a whole lot of interaction. So I've been joking with the calls. I've been making people role play with me, and it takes about 15 minutes for the giggling to stop, to get this comfortable place where tell me about who you are and what services and why I want to get a facial with you. Like just basic things and refining that conversation. So you obviously walking up to somebody, getting a little bit nervous, just keep on walking. You built up your confidence over time by doing it over and over and over again and felt your personality came out in that transaction to get somebody to come up to the spa and get a service.
Then I would also work the hair
I love it.
side. So the hair side was very busy as well. So if I had downtime, I approach and I paid attention to the top service providers. And there was three of them. And I just watched how they handled their guests. I paid attention to everything and I asked them, when they're sitting under the lights with foils in their hair or color on their hair, can I go over and introduce myself and give them a complimentary hand massage? Of course, Maxine. So once I
Yes.
touch someone, it's over. And so I
Right.
would,
There's
yeah. So I
the
would,
reason why that this industry will never get replaced by AI is for that very reason, what you just said.
it's so true. Now, AI, we could talk about that in a second of how it's going to help us. But yeah,
Mhm.
don't fear AI. You're in the service industry. It's not going anywhere. But that is the thing. I love what you said about stepping out of the comfort zone. And while you might not have the exact scenario that I did, if you're listening, I want you to think of what scenario do you have in your environment, whether it's local businesses to collaborate with, to just think outside of the box of what can you do that is a little uncomfortable but allows you to connect with others, where you can invite that your ideal client in to visit you. I guarantee you that there's opportunities that you may have overlooked or maybe didn't want to look at. And I think it's critical to look at those, because as small businesses and small business owners, we are the economy. You know,
Mhm.
we are the economy, and we and more are going to be willing to help you because they need the collaboration as well. And so think outside of the box and just
Yes.
plow through it.
I love it because we've lived it. So and we're going to talk about the economy a little bit later, so because we're hearing the same feedback happening right now and this feedback loop that's being perpetuated, and we'll talk about that. So you're working at Dillard's, you are getting clients from the makeup counter, and you guys had hair there, so you're dealing with hair clients as well, like building your book. So what happens after Dillard's? What's the transition?
Oh, well, that was the Aveda transition, David,
Of course it was.
because that's when Aveda came in to all of the Dillard's stores, the ones that had the spas, because it was pretty
Yes, I
big.
remember this.
You do remember it. Okay. So because
Well, I
I was a top
remember, so no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, because I was a top performer, there was myself and two other hairstylists. What we call them, the Aveda suits came in. They came in. They wanted to talk to us, and
Wearing black.
right. And we sat around and powwowed about how, and and they were basically trying to sell us because they didn't want the top performers to walk. So they really, that's the truth. We understood that was what the meeting was for. They wanted us on board because they knew, well, they felt that if they lost us, then other people would skedaddle as well, and that would just be the tip of the iceberg. So they were trying really hard to win over the top performers of the spa, and I don't blame them. You know what I mean? I don't blame them. And I tried, and I tried to work with the product with my clients, and I just had issue after issue after issue. And that's when I transitioned over to work for a doctor.
Okay,
So
so what year is this? What year is this when this Aveda thing is happening?
let's see, 2002? Does that sound right? 2003?
Yeah, so that would make sense. So I was just trying to, because I know we've talked about this before. I know who owns the
Yeah.
distributorship for Florida. So it would make sense about this time, like the black suits would be coming in and having that moment.
Having that
And you and I
moment.
have talked having that moment. You and I have talked about aesthetics now in 2023, and some we'll call them, there's opportunities for some brands to really set their aesthetic students up for success with what's really happening in aesthetics now. So you found there were some opportunities, and then you went to go work for a dermatologist?
He was actually a plastic surgeon, and, I think and I told my manager that I was going to go. I let her she was like, "Honey, I figured. I figured, honey." She's so sweet. And, I just said, "I can't work with this. I can't work with the product. It's just so limiting." And, and just thought I was like, I don't know, I wouldn't say I was like full of myself as an esthetician, but when you are a top performer, there's a little bit of ego that comes with that as well. And I'm grateful for the journey and my next step, because I think I needed that next step to work for a doctor, to know that I didn't like working for a doctor. So that was, and I had to learn a whole new product line. It was like SkinCeuticals and I don't know, something else. And I sold a ton of product, and all like 70% of my clients followed me. So that was pretty huge. But I just didn't enjoy working for a doctor. We have to find our place of
Mhm.
where we love to work our craft in aesthetics. And so I'm glad that that was like just a year. And then I was just like, I had a vision of building a spa. And so I really need to make that happen. And so that's when I made the leap from that. So, but I was making good
So
money
you
with
made
the
the
doctor.
leap from working with a doctor, being okay, comfortable financially, selling a lot of retail. SkinCeuticals not inexpensive, so that not hard to do. And then you decided you were going to go out on your own and open your own business at this point.
Yes, and, I did start off small first. I rented a room in a hair salon, and, just to build up everything. There's quite a bit of a backstory of how the big spa came to be, but that happened shortly after, and, that build out was pretty intense, because we had like a so it was a 4,000 square foot facility. And I
Mm.
don't skimp on things. You've been a part of my summits before. You know that my attention to detail, so you can only imagine what my spa looked like, with the sconces on the
Yes.
wall and the front desk and the waterfall behind the desk. Like, it was just ridiculous. So it was just a massive build out. Um, and there was a partnership at that time where I had to kind of like pretty much take it over. So yeah, that's a whole nother chapter of running a team, like a bustling. That's a whole nother podcast from that
Yes, it
story
is. It
on.
can
But
be.
it is, but it was really gratifying. It was a very bustling, high-end salon and spa, where I had 8 hair stations that I double shifted, and 4 treatment rooms, and a nail um, room that was all enclosed, and no acrylics, just natural nails. And we did everything. We were a full service salon and spa. So yeah,
So I
it
don't
was
know that people actually understand in traditional business what it actually. So you know how there's the show on television, like the Undercover Boss.
yeah.
You know that show where he like the CEO of a company will go and like work the person's job. They don't know who they put them in disguises. I thought back in the day, like running a full service salon and spa, we had with 48 service providers. I was like, you know what? To somebody from, if you want to learn business and how to interact with people and actually function on the day to day with some sort of, Maxine, there was the dryer caught on fire one day. People, we're booked 9 months in advance. The dryer caught on fire one day. They were doing utility work. They shut the water off to the salon in the middle of the day. People sitting with hair color. An employee getting run over by her own car. I'm like, how is that even possible? This could be its own show because it's just a skill set, people. When I tell you that it's a skill set, it's a learned skill set. There's a lot of emotions in our industry. And when you have gone through that as an owner of a business, you just need to get another feather in your cap because it is not insignificant.
Oh, for sure. When you were talking about the incidents, we had plenty of incidents ourselves. So it is. It's not for it really tests your respond versus react. It tests your
Mhm.
leadership skills. Um, and so lots of different challenges that came up, hot water flooding, water shooting shut off in the middle of the day. So very similar to yours. No fires, but God forbid.
Yeah.
But fire alarm going off in the middle of the night. I'm 45 minutes away, having to run to the spot, thinking like, oh my God, massive break. Like
Is it
just
burning
things
down?
like that. So and that's not even including how do you lead people, and that's a whole nother podcast because that right there is different today. I hear owners, oh, people don't want they don't want to work. These millennials. And I'm like, you know what? I love the millennials. They're bringing a breath of fresh air into the workforce, unlike us baby boomers that just work to the bone, work our little tails off until like we're just so
Mhm.
burnt out kind of thing. So the millennials are bringing this balance to the workforce. And it's not
Yeah.
necessarily always about the money, it's about their freedom. And so all we need to do is just kind of pay attention to what they need in the interview process. And it's really simple. There's plenty who want to work. They want to have more of that balance. Can you blame them? I think it's healthy.
No, absolutely. I mean,
I
so
know.
we have a lot of the the time frame for growing up and being my dad was it was constantly about you have to work, 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 save, 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 buy a house, buy a house, buy a house. Like there was never a conversation about should you have balance? Like I don't want to work 10 hours a day or 15 hours. It was not that's just not the generation. So now we're coming in approaching employees that actually have boundaries and say, you know what, I actually want to, I'll work from this time to this time. It's important for me to have time with my friends, go to Coachella, do these other things that were just never part of my wheelhouse in my career. I was like head first. It's
Right.
refreshing.
It is refreshing. So there's plenty of opportunity out there. I think that if both, if some of the old school owners bend a little bit, or and plus they're in these forums where they're like, oh my God, there's all these problems, like I'm never going to hire because I hear so and so is having these issues, and that might not be the case for you. You might be an amazing leader, and you might
Mhm.
have and be willing to learn different skill sets to help you grow a team, because really ultimately you're in the business of growing people. Managing, you can't there's management, I mean, that word is even cringeworthy in itself because
Yes.
people do things for their reasons. And so
Hmm.
managers were transitioning from managers to coaches, actually, managers to mentors. How can you develop?
Yes.
Because when you develop that individual, guess what goes up? Productivity and those
Hmm.
sales.
Yes.
So be vested in your people, and you will see significant changes, and truly vested, because they know if you care about them or not. You can't fake that.
Yes.
You know what
Can't
I
fake
mean?
that.
And
So the
I I would have to say that.
having
Go ahead.
I was going to say having this experience of managing so not everybody's cut out to lead people. And the people that get put in that position quickly are like, okay, wow, this is not for me. Not everybody is cut out to lead a team. And it's okay. It's all right to identify this is not for me. I'm not interested in this. Like I'm just happy to go over here and be a service provider as opposed to actually running and managing a business. Now, this gives you such a valuable not only experience, but a toolbox to pull from with dealing with so many different personality types of owning your own business that it's now obviously led you into what you're doing today. But how long was because you made a successful exit out of this business too, correct?
I did, yeah. So I sold my spa, And I downsized and then sold. And then I moved to Hawaii. And then I went to, I always say it to in the aesthetic world, I went over to the dark side. I became a rep for a skincare line. So, it's like the dark side. And so that
Yeah.
was really rewarding in itself. I would have to say, looking back at my skill set of being able to walk up to people cold, I could cold call like that was nothing because now I have the phone. I mean, there's
Yeah.
like, it was just so easy. And so I had territories that were not in my state. I was in Hawaii and my territory was Washington, Oregon, and Alaska. So I grew
Wow.
the entire territory via phone. This is like pre Zoom, remember?
I do.
So, yeah. So I grew that entire territory. And really what I fell in love with was the consultative part of selling. So when I was with an owner and they're getting ready to place their opening order or what have you, and there was times where there was no way that they could afford that opening order. I'm like, okay, well, let's do this first. Let's like build up your account. Let's put a couple of things in order, build up your account. Then you're going to be able to like stress free put in this order kind of thing, And so I just found
Mhm.
myself helping. Like I saw the fall down on business, finance, marketing, all of that. And I was just trying to help in any way I could. So, exiting out of being a rep, which I was the number two in the US, number two, that felt nice.
Nice.
Then I moved to director of sales for another skincare line. But then, after a year of that, I just felt called to coach. And I felt called to put together materials and training and that's really how it happened. If you would ask me when I was a spa owner, hey, so Maxine, in an interview, do you ever see yourself being a coach or consultant in the field? I'd be like, no. But it just was this natural evolution of filling a need, and I have a gift. That I have a
Mhm.
gift of helping, and I have great ideas, and I love honing in on people's specific problems that they have within their business, even though a lot of it overlaps. But that's a skill that, I mean, that's just, it's a talent for me, and it's such a calling. So that's how I really. And so 9 years, it'll be 9 years that I'm a coach, industry coach.
I I love this. So your all of this history, being a massage therapist, understanding the money that can be made in aesthetics, Dillard's, Aveda, owning your own spa, being a rep, being a director of sales. We have a lot of intermingling. This is all the stairs. It's the stairs of your life essentially, because one thing is leading you to the next thing. But this is why primarily I felt it was such an impactful reason to obviously have you on. I love you, of course. And I'm going to give a side story. So, you guys, at the beginning of 2022, right? We're at the end of 2023. At the beginning of 2022, I got a email from a former rep of mine, Lori Moore. She actually worked with me at Dermalogica. I brought her over to cosmetics. She owns a spa on Amelia Island. Love Lori, right? Lori sends me this email and she says, um, I have this friend. Her name is Maxine. She does this event. I really think that you two should connect. So, cut to, I'm like, absolutely. Okay, of course. So, at this point in time, we have 4 products. We're basically a direct to consumer brand. And I'm just thinking I'm going to sit in the corner and have brunch. I'm like, all right, it's perfect. I have a conversation with Maxine. We were talking about Jane's book, Skin in the Game, which I keep, great Christmas gift, you guys, if you're out looking for something to give an entrepreneur. And we had a conversation, and basically, Maxine does not remember it this way, but this is what I heard her say to me. What are you doing? What are you doing? And I was like, oh, I feel triggered. I'm like, and then you sent like an e-blast the next day about not playing small. And Maxine, I was like, what in the hell? And you know what? It was the right conversation to have, because what the hell was I doing? I've been in the professional industry my entire career. Like, what was I doing? I don't even know what I was doing. I was like, what am I doing? So cut to Maxine puts on this beautiful event. It's called Beauty Business Summit. I'm going to have you talk a little bit about that as well. And we signed on to come and speak and be a sponsor of this event. So from February 2022 to, it was supposed to happen October or September.
October. Yeah,
It was
October 2nd.
October. So from February to October, I am running around like a crazy person, my hair on fire. Now, I have the professional aspect of Wish in the background. It is on my board to launch at the end of this 2023. It was in the works. Like, I knew there was going to be a professional component to the brand, but I didn't have any, there was nothing to do with 2022. So cut to October comes. I send Maxine a text. I'm like, Maxine, the news is talking about this weather front. And I love this conversation because only you and I could have it. Maxine's like, I've lived in Puerto Rico. I've lived in Hawaii. It's ridiculous. It's it's not even a storm. Don't worry about it. So this is Sunday night. And I'm like, you know what? I agree with you because the news always blows everything out of proportion. Cut to Monday morning. The hotel calls Maxine and says, we're boarding up the hotel. The hurricane is coming straight for us. And the event had to be canceled. So not canceled, postponed. So what I will tell you, Maxine, postponed. The time frame from when that event was supposed to happen to happening March of this year, there were so many amazing things that happened to us as a company. The time, the 3 education platforms I had to go through, so much more thing, building more inventory, like formulating more products that I needed that time. So I don't want to say that I created the hurricane, but I definitely needed that time. So, okay, now that we've transitioned, and obviously there's so many people that have been helped by Maxine Drake Consulting. Let's talk about, so you've transitioned now from a director of sales position for a brand, and you're now running your own coaching business. So I don't feel like there's been a better time ever. You and I have survived through multiple recessions. I mean, the economy fell out in 2008. Like, most of these estheticians that I'm talking to now were like, oh, David, I was 12 years old then. I'm like, okay, you were different day and time for you. You were a little kid. I was living, working, managing a huge sales team for Dermalogica. So talk to us about consulting now. Like, what are you hearing? I know we're probably sharing some of these challenges, but what are you hearing from the industry right now? And how are you guiding your clients through what is currently perceived as the economic environment that we're in right now?
That's like a 2-prong to that question, David, because
Right.
the clients that I attract aren't really bothered by whatever is going on in the world. Like, well, first of all, the economy's fine because there is no economic downturn. In order to be in a recession, we need 3 consecutive quarters. That already happened, by the way. Right. Didn't it happen in 2021 for like a blip? And then it came back, right? It was like 3 quarters.
And then when you started talking about it, yes.
Yeah. And so like people didn't even notice. But what happens is we start watching the news, we start whatever, and that fear is now going to position you a little bit differently in how you show up for work, how you're buying into something, you're creating a story that doesn't necessarily exist. Now, it's not to say that anything can happen. We know that any election year, things like change, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's an economic downturn. So that's not part of the conversation and the people that I'm coaching. I'm sorry to say that. But I'm not sorry to say that because we're working on other things, so the focus is not on, oh my God, the economy, people are buying, it's so slow. The focus is different of, hey, I'm doing this for my Christmas promotion or my holiday promotion and my brand new year, or like the focus is just different. And so the conversations are different, and so that's really the truth of what I see in some of the groups. There's a whole different story. So, be careful that you don't get bogged down by the energy in certain groups when people start to tailspin. You don't have to get on that bandwagon and tailspin downward with them. Please don't, because if their experience is not your experience.
Okay, so this is why I love you, because you're giving me something really amazing to unpack. So obviously
Okay.
through Maxine's group, there were Wish customers came out of our beauty business summit at the beginning of the year. And I will tell you that, Maxine, they have been a pleasure to work with. They have business fundamentals down. There's people buying their own buildings, renovated their own buildings. Like, these are so the premise behind what I'm trying to do with this not trying, what we are doing with this podcast is showing the industry that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's on the nightly news. Your business is your business, and the activities that you choose to do on the day to day. The people that start spiraling in the groups, I get really riled up. I'm like, you guys can all go into a corner and complain about not being busy, or you can take it upon yourself to learn some best practices. And so during the week, and I know you do a lot of this too, we have conversations with the brand new esthetician that just graduated from school, and she wants to learn about acne. So she heard from her friend on Instagram to call this company called Wish. I have the phone conversation. I've been so thrown by some of this because I graduated from school. I went and rented a solo suite. I asked my dad to borrow $30,000 to buy a hydrofacial machine, but I don't have any clients. And so again, you and I have been around long enough to know that's not your ideal scenario. You're in it now. Like, what am I going to do? I'm like, well, it's like jumping out of a plane without a parachute. It'll be over soon. Not much you can do at this point. Like, you're going to learn through your mistakes. But my goal here is that we can help people navigate around some of these things that they're experiencing or being exposed to. But as you know, there's not an aesthetic program in the United States that is teaching aesthetic students what they should do after they get their license. They're like, I got my license.
Yep. And you know
And
what?
out into the world you go.
Yes. I don't know that will be added to the curriculum either. Um, it's not their
We could
job
talk, we could have another podcast.
necessarily.
We could talk.
Yeah, it's really not their job to set you up into the workplace. Their job at the school is to help you pass your state boards.
Right.
Let's be clear on that. I don't think that there's anything wrong. I did it. To go and work for someone and get X amount of treatments under your belt, experience under your belt. Even if you want to own your own someday, and I had a 6-year vision and I completed it before that 6-year vision of being on my own, is that you're going to learn so much working for someone else because you're going to take note of what you don't want to do and what did work well and the things that, but really getting your business acumen, knowing your numbers, understanding marketing, even if you are going to delegate out, there is a lot to learn. And here's the other truth. There's only 13% of us that are entrepreneurs. 13% of individuals that have the entrepreneurial gene, if you will. I think it's a crazy gene. I love it though.
It is crazy because you have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be
and
crazy.
The rest of that population is what we call contributors or the worker bees. And we need both. We need the entrepreneurial with the vision, and we need the contributors to help breathe life into that vision and be a part of it. So neither one is good or bad, but trying to shoehorn in, like seeing someone else go do it and thinking that you have it, you have that entrepreneurial spirit or gene. How would you say that if you have it or not, David?
Ooh, I love this question. So,
Me too.
Couple of things. Some of them are not so great. I don't like being told what to do. Shocking. And I like to have, I'll tell you a true story, Maxine. the corporate positions that I've had, and I've worked for some amazing brands with some amazing founders, I was like, I wanted to say multiple times, get out of my way. Like literally get out of my way and let me make decisions because I know my feet are on the street. I know what's going to actually propel this business. And I wanted to push them out of the way, which you can't do when they own the company.
You hit the nail on the head. That's why I left director of sales, because I
Yes.
excelled that year and they freaked out. So the fear of success is greater than the fear of failure. It's
Mhm.
wild. So I hear you.
It's true. So, all right. So, and I love this because I love being an entrepreneur. And I tell Steven, business partner Steven, all the time that you have to be at least 30% crazy to be an entrepreneur because you are
Yep.
risking your own money, your own capital, your own time. Like, would it be easier to go and sit in a company and collect a paycheck? Absolutely. 100%. I almost said the F word. Absolutely. Is it going to fulfill me and what I foresee for the industry and where I see the industry going?
Mhm.
It's not going to make me happy anymore. And there are people out there in the industry that are closely aligned with some of my thought process, but I know that there's only one Maxine Drake, there's one David Valenzuela, there's one Stephen Shapley. Like there's one
Yep.
of these, one Horst Ruckelbacher, one Jane Werwan. Everybody has a unique vision for their life, for their profession, for their career, for all of it. And that is the entrepreneurial. I say you get the bug and you will never shake it until you step into the direction of it.
It's really true. And so there's nothing wrong with getting out of school, and it's wonderful to have backing and family helping you and all of that. Like it's amazing. Like it's wonderful to have that love and support from family members, or even if there's investors involved. Be careful. That's a whole nother podcast. But the thing is then you still need to get your business acumen on. You still have to know how to run things. You still have to know how you're going to get leads, how you're going to get clients in the door. That's like the number one phrase that's searched on my website is how to get new clients, how to get new clients, how to get new clients. And so, how do you get new clients? And it's like you should know how many leads you get per month. Well, I don't we
Yes.
can go down a rabbit hole with that, but you should know how many leads you get per month, and you should know what you're retaining. So it's not necessarily always about new clients, new clients. It's about what are you doing to keep the clients coming back, and
The clients that you've
that's
already earned.
clients you've already earned. That's your warm market. Why didn't they come back? You need to
Mhm.
uncover that. No matter, and be willing to take a look at it in the face if it has something to do with because I see all kinds of stuff out there, like in these groups, like, how dare this client like text me? And like, it's like the client's bothering them or something. And it's just like, no, you're going to win and you're going to excel and you're going to grow if you are willing to go above and beyond and go that extra mile and do something that your fellow esthetician down the block is not willing to do. So I see all this, oh, it's a saturated market. Oh, it's not, because there's very few that are willing to go the extra mile. So it's not so saturated
True.
now, you see.
You told me one in one of our conversations, or maybe it was when you were speaking about I don't. I'm going to mess it up, so I'm going to let you clarify. But that the brand is not your customer. How did you position this to me? You said something about this. It was we were talking about who your customer is, and you said something about the brand or the product or something that is not your customer. I don't. You know what? It'll come back to me in a second, or it'll come to you.
Um, Sometimes when we go off on these
It's all
tangents,
right.
like I'll be in this is why I record all my coaching calls too now, is because then they'll be like, oh my God, Maxine, that was great. What did you just say? And I'm like, because I just got in the zone and I just dumped. And so now I have, it's transcribed and everything. So I'm like, oh, no, we can go back now and get that little golden nugget because I
Yes,
get in this zone where it's just like, oh, I get all in. And then, so it sounded cool wherever I was going with that, David.
you know what? It resonated with me because it was really understanding that as a brand, every single independent esthetician, med spa, physician's office, we're thinking about who am I talking to? And whatever the issue is of the day, I say that is my client. Like you are my client right now for the next 20 minutes. You've got my undivided attention, whatever. And a lot of it's great, Maxine. My ego gets blown up because I get text messages of people's acne clearing and their before and after pictures. And like, I'm like, I couldn't ask for a better text message on a Sunday morning. Like it gives me all the feels. But so let's talk about so you now being in the industry for as long as you have with all of this experience, Maxine Drake Consulting. Like talk to me about now at the end of 2023, moving into 2024, the plans you have for your consulting business and all the things that people can look forward to that are if you're looking for a consultant. Hello.
Yeah, no, you know what? I feel really grateful. This is part of that entrepreneurial crazy, right? I pioneered three things in the industry that hadn't been done before. The Beauty Business Summit was definitely pioneered in the platform that it was, and being able to give away the $10,000 grants each year to spa business owner, giving in total of $50,000 away. The second thing that I pioneered in the industry was becoming Gallup trained strengths coach so that I can help people once they take their Clifton strengths, navigate their report, work with them with their natural talents, and also build an amazing team where now it's like a strength based culture. So that is, in the grand scheme of things with the Clifton strengths, that the power of just that tool can actually change the world and change the workforce. More on that in another podcast. And then the third thing that I
Yes.
pioneered was the outsourcing for beauty professionals. So that's where we're really putting our focus now, is that I've taught people how to build amazing websites and blog and video and do all these things in marketing and gain new clients and this and that. But the problem was, well, how do I do it? And who do I hire? And, you can find a gig worker, but gig workers sometimes pan out and sometimes don't. And most of the time people are disappointed or it's costly. And so we really wanted to create a service that was a flat fee and where we could take care of anything and everything digital and techie. So that's where we're going towards now, because I have the ability, I listened to what the problems were and where people needed help. And when you're a solo operator doing it all, it's not sustainable. You can't,
Right.
you just can't, you can't, like, it's gonna fizzle out as sooner or later, or you're gonna resent your business so hard that you're like, why did I even like put this together? Right. So learning the
Yes.
skill of delegation is a life skill that will serve you throughout the rest of your career, no matter if you want to stay solo and just uh, source out the digital aspects and the techie aspects, or you end up building a team. It really helps build your communication skills. It helps you really zero in on what it is that you want to build for your business, because you need to be able to visualize that to convey it to our team, to let them so that they know what to build, whether it's a landing page or
Yes.
putting together emails, or we're developing podcasts for people, like all kinds of different things right
Yes.
now. And so, but it's that portion of the business that is bogging people down. It feels like the minutia, but it's the important stuff, because we need marketing funnels in place to have that lead source. And how many funnels? Well, it depends on, I got to sit down with you to figure out what are your top services. If you're just acne, well, that's easy, but then not
Yeah.
easy, but then there's, what is it? Is it teen acne? Is it hormonal acne? Is it So where are you going to zero in on? And those are all different funnels. Not everyone goes in the same, just lumped into the same, like flow or funnel flow, if you will, marketing funnel. I don't want to get into the weeds with funnels because I could, but anyway, but
And
that's
funnels are so again, all of these things that you're talking about right now are things that you would not traditionally learn in the industry. They're you have to actually I'm a master skill getter because I can't stand it. My thirst for knowledge is nuts, like acquiring skills, acquiring skills. I think that this actually is the next generation of what we'll consider traditional learning is acquiring skills, how to do something. And this is to build a funnel, just not to go off on a crazy tangent, but to build a funnel, understand the funnel, understand that how many touch points need to happen before you can actually acquire that customer. This is something that most people probably
27,
don't want to have to spend a lot.
27, 27 touch points,
Exactly.
y'all.
So
Mm-hmm.
yes. So if you don't have the correct tech to actually understand how many times somebody visits your website, looks at different pages, what's actually resonating with the client, this is where I see services that you're offering here phenomenal for the industry because it's none the wiser.
Well, and they don't have to learn it. That's the thing, David.
Yes.
Like you don't
Mhm.
I'm like, stop doing things that are below your pay grade, number one, because your time spent as an entrepreneur owner is customer facing and working on all the large money making activities and the sales. Like all the other little stuff that needs to be done, all we need to know is the vision. But like you don't need to learn all that. You don't need to learn what is a meta description and how do I get that together? Like, no, 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 no. The team will do that. You don't need to know how to link your booking site to your email client to your website. Like, you don't like that. Don't bog your brain down with that. All you need to know is you need to tell us the outcome. What do you want to happen? Okay, well, then the
Yes.
developers will do that. Sometimes I don't even know.
Yes.
Like, when something gets fixed, so someone on my team will be like, well, I tried. Like, how did they fix that? I go, I don't know, but it's fixed. Okay, the next thing on our list is this. And they just laugh at me because,
Yes.
we bog ourselves down with these skills that we don't really need to learn. We don't need to get in the weeds with them. We
Yes.
really don't.
Yes.
We
And
just
so
need to
that's
convey. Hmm.
I think that the so under this is where I believe your expertise comes into play. So somebody comes to you, salon owner, independent esthetician, med spa owner, whomever, that's like, I need some
Hmm.
guidance in my business because they don't know where to start. And you having the level of experience that you have to say, okay, let's have a conversation, just like a consultation when you're doing a treatment. You're going to ask a lot of questions and uncover what truly your needs are so
Yep.
that you can have a roadmap, so to speak, of how you're actually going to accomplish some of the goals in your business where it can feel overwhelming to have to manage a website, build a social media channel, a marketing fund, like all of these things that are, you know what, if you're, like you said, being front facing, servicing your clients, those things are, that's what's important for you in your business, where you place yourself in your business, as opposed to trying to learn coding to figure out how to make a button work on your website.
Right. That's exactly it. So, so I love what you said because I was on a call earlier today and we were just talking about like the different programs that I have. And, I do have like a very big platform that doesn't really require meeting with me. But some of my higher level programs, I want to get face to face with somebody. I want to figure out what is going to be the best program for them because I'm not really about the cash grab. I really don't need more clients. I just want more success stories. And
Yes.
I'm just living, that's how I'm really going into 2024 is with that attitude. And I will attract the estheticians who may not know exactly what to do, but they're coachable and they're action takers. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yeah.
My dad taught me something at an early age, and he's like, learn when to cut your losses. As an entrepreneur and as an owner, learn when to cut your losses. And
Mhm.
it's, it, there's a lot of truth to that statement. That's all I can say. Cause it makes you go introspective and reflect to say, hey, maybe I can have this one day, but I need to go do this and go work for someone and get my feet wet and understand some things first before I can try it again. And that's okay too.
You know what? It's all relevant and it all equals. There's some fierce conversations that need to be had sometimes. And some we have what I see in the industry is there's a thought process about looking at what other people are doing. And
Mm,
Maxine, I have constantly said to my sales team, to businesses I've worked with, run owners of companies, stop looking at what other people are doing. Quit paying attention. Stop looking at their e-blast. Quit looking at that. That's not us. That's not who we are. That's not what we represent. And if you're constantly running the marathon, looking to the left and the right to see what else is, you can't win the marathon. And newsflash, it's not a marathon. You're going to run for the rest of your life. So it's okay. Into the
yeah,
next
it's
one.
cross
So
country.
I know cross country. I know you have, I would love to, you guys, Maxine and I could get on the phone and we tell each other when we get on the phone, like, okay, I have 15 minutes. And then we always talk for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, 2 hours. We've talked for 3 hours with no issues. So I was like, it's not going to be hard for Maxine and I to have a conversation, but I wanted to share some pearls of wisdom, obviously, introduce the audience to Maxine Drake Consulting, all the amazing things that happen with that. Maxine, tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, am I able to share a link with you?
Yeah, so what we can do is we can so yeah, we tell people what the website is and then we'll put the link in the show notes underneath the show because it will go up on YouTube and also on Spotify and up everywhere people can get a podcast.
Okay,
It'll go
great.
there.
Because
But for the people, we have a mix. So right now, just a sidebar, statistics, we have over 80% of the people that are listening to the podcast, which you guys, thank you for listening because the traction's been amazing for out of the gate. This is number 4, are listening. So the YouTube, if you want to go and watch YouTube, Spotify has also made it so that you can view a podcast as opposed to going to YouTube. So either way, so tell everybody where they can, and then yes, we'll put a link under the video where they can actually make it clickable.
I wanted to give a gift. That's why.
Yes,
So it's
I love it.
maxinedrake.com, but I created the esthetician creed, and it's literally like 11 principles to live by. I framed it. And so I want to just give you a link where they can download it for free into either an 8x10 or a um, poster size. Sorry, I got my
Love
little
it.
light on. So it's really cool. And I think I just created it for uniting estheticians to create positive change. And so if the reminders speak to you, if the principles speak to you, then put it in a place where you can read it and get inspired every day when you come to work. So, yep.
I love it. I love it. So this episode has been generously sponsored by Wish Skin Health. Wish is focused on the holistic treatment of acne without the need for prescription medication. If you are looking to level up your aesthetic practice, we would love to have you as a certified Wish Pro. Visit trywish.com. That's TRYWISH.com. Click on the Pro tab for further details. All right. And I want to thank our guest today, Maxine Drake Consulting. Thank you so much, Maxine. What a great conversation. I appreciate you. I love you. I can't wait to see all the great things you'll do in 2024 and have a great holiday.
David, I love you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm so proud of you. You're just like on fire. You're like, your hair is on fire and now you're on fire. So you're just doing big things and changing lives. And I just love what you're doing for our industry. So thank you. Thank you. Mwah.
Absolutely. I appreciate you.